we are a Pan-African representation. Our team is from all over Africa. So we need to explore how we can expand into Africa in a way that is aligned with our values and principles around communities benefiting from the use of technical tools around their language. So going into more languages is on the cards, expanding into different domains. So part of the way that Lelapa is able to do so much with less is that we focus on models in particular domains. So instead of doing the one model to rule them all, we have very specific and targeted models that help to challenge particular problems.
Messy and masterful. In this podcast, we speak about the success of people who have achieved, built, or done something amazing, special, remarkable, noteworthy, and/or fabulous. Think of presidents, doctors, chefs, architects, filmmakers, writers, philosophers, CEOs, journalists, and the list goes on and on of people who've had a genuine impact on this world. But rather than underlining their career victories, we speak about the challenges they needed to overcome to actually get there. In each episode, we discuss 3 of such challenges, obstacles, difficulties, and/or hurdles with our guest, putting the messy of their lives next to the masterful. A very warm welcome to you. My name is Aldo, and I'm so happy you could make it. So sit back, relax, and download the podcast here. Hi everyone, I am so very happy you could make it to another episode of Messy and Masterful. A very warm welcome to episode 80. Yes, you heard that correctly, episode 80, and it is a special one, I can tell you that. We had the honor to interview Pelonomi Moiloa, who is the co-founder and CEO of a great company called Lelapa AI, active in South Africa. And Lelapa builds natural language processing models that allow people to use artificially intelligent tools every step of the way. Now, as you might be aware, many people in Africa do not speak English. Africa has loads of tribal languages. Think of isiZulu and Sesotho. And the tools of Lelapa make sure that artificial intelligence is effectively translated for these people. I feel that the work of Lelapa is crucial because it really ensures that artificial intelligence can become this equalizer that it promises to be. By the by, the work of Pelonomi and Lelapa has not gone by unnoticed, as late last year Pelonomi was dubbed one of the 100 most influential people in artificial intelligence by Time magazine. That's quite an honor. So I am very sure you're going to hear a lot more of Pelonomi and the great work she does for Lelapa. Enough talk, let's get you to the episode 80, interview with Pelonomi Moiloa, the natural language processor. So yes, a very warm welcome to another episode of Messy and Masterful. We are here in the beautiful city of Doha, capital of Qatar, and we're at a conference called Creative Fluency, Human Flourishing in the Age of AI. And I have the great pleasure of being surrounded by loads of people who know AI well, who are AI builders and experts. And my next guest is no exception to that. Pelonomi Moiloa, CEO and founder of Lelapa AI. And we rehearsed in advance. I will admit this, but I'm getting a nod from Pelonomi. A very warm welcome to you.
Thank you so much for having me.
You are one of the people who can be considered an AI expert. Lelapa, I want to hear and know a lot more about Lelapa AI, but what I found inspiring about it is that it's really an African initiative by Africans for Africans. Could you talk a little bit about Lelapa and then specifically the African message you have?
Right. So Lelapa is an organization that builds foundational language models for African languages.
Yeah.
This isn't necessarily an obvious thing to do for other people in the world who either speak one of the languages that are commonly spoken and therefore have technological representation. But on the African continent, it's quite an important factor in terms of giving people access to products and services, in terms of disseminating information so people can empower themselves and educate themselves. But I think the second thought that comes after that is why not just use the things that are produced elsewhere?
Yeah.
But there is a dire need for, especially places in the global south or in the majority world, to adjust what has been developed elsewhere for the local context.
Yeah.
What we find is using models that are built in other places, firstly, do not represent the context, so they don't understand the concepts or the colloquial mechanisms of how we function, what we talk about, what we find important, which is very inherent. It's completely attached to language. That's how language is built, by a familiar group of people, and comes to reflect the way of their life. And the language doesn't capture that completely. So it's not possible to import language models from elsewhere because the language does not describe the situation. Mm-hmm. But secondly, in an attempt to do that, external parties absolutely fail. So if we try to test any kind of language model that is able to perform a language function, whether that be transcription, so converting sounds to text, or translation, or simple things like recognizing names or places, things like that. Using models from outside often fail in our context. So it's really important for us to take ownership of that problem so that we can capitalize on its benefits to bring that change.
And so you say they fail, why?
That's a good question. And I think there are many reasons. So I've spoken about the context issue already. So, Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie in one of her TED Talks about how A for apple is a common concept in the West, where many places in the global south was an apple. So then how do you teach that? So that kind of contextual knowledge is not transferred. The other reason is from a data perspective. So in many regions where the tradition of knowledge and passing on knowledge has been an oral tradition rather than a written one, it means that these models that are built on that pre-construct or that pre-understanding that text is important have fallen behind with these textual-based models. So that means that we don't have a very significant body of evidence to support the existence of these languages because they're living. They're a living archive amongst people and not recorded down on paper or on the internet, which means that it's difficult to teach to machines who learn via that method. So there isn't data for us to train those same machines in the same way. We have to come up with alternatives of how to work around that challenge so that we can still have the models that perform in the same way, but they learn slightly differently.
What I like naturally about Lelapa AI is, and this is also what people who speak about AI and specifically at this conference also are talking about, is that we need to make sure that the benefit that there is from AI, which is predicted to be tremendous, is there for everyone. And you're already on that narrative to make sure that it is there for everyone, right? So I think that's a very strong proposition. What, of course, will be the challenge is like, how do you execute on it? Because how many languages are we talking about? How many?
On the African continent, there's over 2,000.
So that's quite a task, right?
In South Africa, we have 12 officially.
So have you started with those 12, or where does one start?
I mean, it's a very tricky question. Ideally, if the world was a place full of resources and people cared as much as they say that they do, there would be space and money to support all languages, all communities, and to ensure that they have access to technology in the way that the next person does. But from an African perspective, from a business perspective, we've made a choice of being a for-profit company. We do not have the luxury of state or foundation support necessarily, and at the same time we don't want to rely on that and the incentives by those stakeholders in order to be able to venture into particular paths. So part of that is that we are a for-profit in order to be sustainable so that we can continue driving impact and positive change, which is a plus. But a negative of that is then that we do often have to select the bulk of our challenges to be centered around languages that have potential for so we have started in South Africa with the 4 languages that kind of capture the major language groups. So of the Bantu languages in the Southern African region, there are families of languages that may have similar words and similar grammatical structures. So if you speak one, you can understand another very easily. So we've started with those 4 groups to capture the majority of the population. So at least they're not forced to speak English. But the expansion there onwards is really driven by a client need. If a business comes to us, they say, we have this market and we need this language. Then that's how we one by one tackle.
So the client could be the government. Potentially. When did you start all of this? So a little bit about your background. So you were a computer engineer or
I started off as a biomedical engineer.
Biomedical engineer. Okay.
I have a huge passion for medicine. Biomedical engineering just felt its impact felt too far away because it required too much initial investment. And then moved on to electrical engineering.
Okay.
South Africa has an electricity supply problem. As does much of Africa. But
what is it? Level 6? They're talking about kind of
level 6 load shedding. I think it's quite cute that we share electricity with each other. Most people do not. And of course, it's devastating for economy and for businesses who need to keep electricity. But somehow ventured more into the computer space than the physical electrical domain. It's where I got into my training. From there, I was exposed to a data science program. Fell in love with the prospect of data, being able to business around the world, giving me an opportunity to be creative, curious about how things work and how we can build through them from a data-driven perspective. I was obsessed with that, and along that journey I've met incredible people. A few of them are my co-founders, and we started this thing together officially only last year. But we've all been building in our unique aspects, different parts of what makes this possible. So, for example, my co-founders Vukosi and Jade founded the grassroots research movement for African NLP on the continent called Masakane. And they have done a lot of the heavy lifting in terms of getting African NLP onto the map from a research perspective, so that companies like mine can exist and leverage on what has been built and commercialize that and turn it into products that they can. A number of my co-founders are the leaders of the top machine learning labs in the continent. So Benji from the Rail Lab, reinforcement learning. Vukosi has a data science for social good lab, and that's building the talent on the continent in terms of then having a workforce who is able to apply these very technical methods of exploring data and understanding and teaching it to a machine. We're able to absorb that talent, apply the research that has been built, and then do what we need to do. So we say that we started in April, but really we started 8 years ago. Because we had to start.
It's only been incorporated since April. And so your journey, like what's your challenge now in growing the company? Are you raising investment, or how does that work for you? And how does that go?
Always raising investment.
You're always that's true. You're always raising investment. That never stops.
I mean, it's difficult to balance the pursuit of investment with doing the work. So there's some constant challenges balancing those two. But at the moment we're working on growing the team and growing our reach of foundational models, and looking for opportunities to commercialize them and get them into the hands of people. Because I think there's especially in the research world, and it's a bit ridiculous. Everybody compares models according to benchmarks, but those benchmarks are based on fictitious situations. They're not real world scenarios and real world data sets out in the wild. So who decides whether a language model works or not is a community. Once the technology is in the hands of people who rely on that technology for a particular product and service, they can tell it's a good model or not. It doesn't matter what your accuracy score is.
we are very happy to be partnering with the Code Zone, which is this amazing platform where people can come together to learn how to code. Creators and future makers, they all come together here, both children as well as adults, to learn how to code and develop things, like for instance their own videos or Minecraft mods. The team at CodeZone believes everyone should be able to learn how to code, young or old, and they've got these amazing subscriptions, very easy and very cheap. You'll learn a lot from them. You could do it live or you could do it in your own time at your own leisure. We highly recommend it. They are tailored to support individual interests and capabilities, and I'm sure that once you get hooked on the CodeZone, you never want anything more. Check it out, thecodezone.co.uk or the URL in our show notes. I don't know about you, but I am someone who really loves a true crime series. I just can't get enough of them. If I watch them on the streaming platforms, I really cannot stop binging on them. It really is a guilty pleasure. So if you're like me, then you are going to love coldcaseinc.com, which is a platform that offers you unsolved cases of fictional murder mysteries that you can solve. It's a great community of detectives that come together, offering you video and audio evidence, and step by step you can play the game of solving this murder mystery by yourself. We've paired up with the team at coldcaseinc.com, and if you use our code, which is the word MESSY in capital letters, MESSY, then you even get a 15% off your first online membership. So do check out coldcaseinc.com and get crime solving today. Yeah, I think once you are able to produce tangible results, as you say, then people will also get it, and I think definitely there's potential to scale. And you already see it, but it would be good if it's really in practice. I was wondering, seeing that you're a commercial entity, if I'm kind of would like to use Lelapa AI for the Scandinavian tribal language, or someone else in the world, somewhere else in the world. Just trying to give an example, random example. Would you be open to it, or would you say no? We want to stay in Africa.
We would say no.
Okay.
For us.
Yeah.
But I think when we're talking about building technology from an African perspective, it's not just because we're dealing with African problems and African ways of thinking around solving through solutions. It's also in how we build technology. So in Africa, we have a very deep-rooted foundational philosophy in connection and community. So we would have built it because those Scandinavian languages are not ours. And who needs to build those models are Scandinavian indigenous peoples who have a personal connection to that data, to that culture, and to that language. We would help you. We would tell you how we do ours so that you can have some notes on how you can use our learnings to do your own, and we're happy to do those kinds of conversations, and we do those kinds of conversations freely because we know how important it is. But one of our issues with how technology is developed at the moment is this idea of global concepts being unanimous and ubiquitous.
Across the and that's actually not true.
It's not true. And we would never want to buy your language just so that we could sell it back to you. So have access to it.
Fair enough and noble enough. So, talking about awards and accolades, you started in April last year, and you're already marked as Times 100 most influential people in AI. It's amazing, and you deserve it. But how does that make you feel?
I think when I initially saw the email, figuratively speaking, ran and likes to be behind the scenes. I wanted to be an engineer because I love solving problems. I love creatively breaking through barriers that people think are impossible to break through. And for me, it seems counterintuitive that I have to be the face of something in order to be able to do so. But unfortunately, this is the way that it is. So I understand and recognize the importance of those kinds of accolades and achievements and
Events.
the role of marketing in pushing what we do.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely honored to be recognized alongside people who are recognized in that list. It's absolutely ridiculous that I'm mentioned alongside these heroes that I followed for my entire machine learning journey.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I just want to.
Yeah. Take it. Take the title. Go with it.
I'm learning.
You're learning.
I have a lot to
No, but I understand what you mean, and it's also, you're right. It's the marketing end of things. It's the communications end of things. It kind of, to a certain extent, like someone who has never heard of you right away has a little bit of a reference to you on a very high level, right? But that doesn't say anything about you or kind of, your company. You don't know the ins and outs. It's just something that you could use, right? And I mean, if it wouldn't be there, that doesn't mean that you would stop your business, right? It's just something that you can use as an extra, as an extra.
I just hoped that we would have more to show for ourselves.
Yeah.
Before that.
Yeah. It's early days. Yeah, that's true.
Days,
yeah.
But I'm not going to.
No, you're not going to say no. Yeah. Well, there's a list next year. I don't know. Yeah, kind of. Or whatever it is. Like,
well, it just means that the eyes are on us.
Yeah.
The pressure is on, and
Yeah.
we have no choice but to make this work for ourselves.
Yeah.
For everyone else.
Yeah.
Everybody who has faith. In
Well,
what we're doing.
let it be a facilitator for getting into other conversations, maybe a little easier or whatever more.
It's opening the door and keeping it open.
Yeah,
so that there's
definitely.
more opportunities for others to
Yeah.
also do so.
So what is kind of in the near future for Lelapa? So there's the investment that never stops, the investment journey, the 4 languages that you started with. That's kind of, is that what you're working on now, or is that finished, or where are you with that?
So we're having to expand in multiple directions. So of course there's the long tail in terms of the languages that we could address. We are a Pan-African representation. Our team is from all over Africa. So we need to explore how we can expand into Africa in a way that is aligned with our values and principles around communities benefiting from the use of technical tools around their language. So going into more languages is on the cards, expanding into different domains. So part of the way that Lelapa is able to do so much with less is that we focus on models in particular domains. So instead of doing the one model to rule them all, we have very specific targeted models that help to challenge particular problems, which is great for us because it means that we're targeting a particular problem. It's not just out of interest or out of curiosity whether we can do something. We know that it will produce a positive outcome. But there are so many domains. There's education, there's agriculture, there's healthcare. And so that is a place that we're expanding to. And then in terms of the technology itself, so at the moment we are the leaders in these 4 languages with regards to transcription. We have sentiment models as well as named entity recognition models. So those are the ones that are able to identify places, names, and things. But what the people want is translation. We have kind of shied away from translation to some extent because I think the concept that other people's language needs to be converted into what you understand so that you can grapple with it directly, for us, loses a little bit of the magic of language. Ideally, you want people to come over to your side to learn a couple of words so that they're able to understand the cultural perspective from where you're expressing yourself. But at the same time, there are so many advantages for translation of being able to convert all the information that is available into the world into languages that the majority of the world may not have access to. So that is a major focus of what we're targeting from now on is translation models for indigenous languages. We're super excited.
There is no point in denying it. I am in love. And you might have already known it, that I was in love with podcasting and interviewing people all over the world. Well, I'm also in love now with a recording tool for our podcast episodes, which is called Riverside.fm. I've kissed many frogs when it came to recording episodes, but this one is really the one with the most amazing studio features. Riverside really offers you everything you need in creating the perfect episode, whether these are short or long, whether these are multiple people you're talking to or just you, or whether this is about your show notes or the video recording or even creating easy snippets that you can use on social media. Riverside truly has it all. If you go to our show notes, you will find a link to Riverside, and if you use that link, you'll even get a 20% discount. Yes, you heard that correctly, a 20% discount in getting started with this incredible podcast recording tool. Look no more, riverside.fm is here. I can imagine. I also understand your struggles. Like, that's not where we want to be, but that's where the need is. So, yeah. Well, it sounds like an amazing journey. Congratulations on all your achievements thus far. And I'm sure we're going to hear a lot more about you. My 3 very last questions that I asked each guest. Could you finish the following sentence for me? As a child, I wanted to become a...
inner child.
As like the basic kind of the dreamer in you as a child. What did you want to become?
I think initially I wanted to be cartoon voiceover.
That's lovely. I love that one. Cartoon voiceover. Yeah.
I had many dreams though.
Okay.
That's a beauty of being young.
Yeah.
I was also going to be a professional science. I was also going to be others parts.
Yeah. Did you merge one? My daughter merged one. She wants to. Right now, she's 4. She wants to be mommy princess.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. And then now teachers coming in, so it's mommy teacher princess. So it's kind of like we make it work, right? So
if only I was as smart as a 4-year-old, I might have been able to achieve the same thing.
She brings them together slowly but surely, because we would like her to get rid of the princess, because we're like, that's not a job, But anyway, yet. So, but I think you had similar ideas. But I like cartoon voiceover. That's a good one.
That was at a very early stage in my life where, I think it's quite unfortunate that we're in a world where you have to work in order to live.
Yeah.
That came from a place of where I would just enjoy doing something.
Yeah.
That I could live with something.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed doing. I mean, later on in life as a teenager, I was like, I'm going to be an engineer.
Yeah.
I'm going to have a stable job with a stable income, and I'm going to have fun solving problems doing it.
Yeah. Next question about reading. In your journey, is there any book that kind of inspired you and that makes you the person you are today?
I mean, I think all the books I've read.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I'm trying not to bias my answer on the books I've read most recently.
Yeah.
But the first range of books that come to mind are science fiction books by black writers. When I was younger, I didn't like science fiction. I think within the computer realm, the computer world was sold and made for people who looked in a very literal way, and that the way those people looked were not me.
Yeah.
So I thought I didn't like science fiction. That is until I picked up some books by Octavia Butler.
Okay.
And then later the Nigerian Maybe. And the book with Octavia Butler, I kept on reading the science fiction story and having to change the picture that I had in my brain to actually match what I was reading, because I was automatically picturing like a middle class white men.
Yeah.
and she was writing about them.
Yeah.
And the particular book that really solidified this for me was Neddy Okorafor's book Binti. It's a trilogy around this Himba girl, so the Neddy be in Himba girl. The Himba people, even still till today, cover themselves in mud.
Yeah.
This beautiful, rich brown earth that protects the skin, and they cover their dreads with it, and really it's head to toe, a spiritual, a sensible practice. And this Himba girl becomes this magical, highly technical being who can communicate across the universe with all sorts of different beings outside of the planet.
Amazing.
But she grapples with the idea of letting go of her culture and heritage and doing so, but still holds on to so much of who she is. And for me that was really incredible, because I think when we think of a technological future, when I was in Ghana a couple of months ago for a machine learning conference, I think you should go to conference, which is incredible. But there was this young man walking down the road and he had AirPods in his ears. And I mean, the road isn't really a very well paved road. It's like this brown soil with huge craters in it. And there's chickens flying across, and there's women balancing food on their heads, walking between the cars, selling their wares, and the traffic light, like one's broken and half hanging off, and it's a busy, bustling place, and this young man was walking through with his AirPods having a conversation, gesturing.
Yeah.
And then in Binti there's a similar gesturing that happens between a tribe who sends messages across the universe through some very advanced technology. And I was like, there's no reason why this place that otherwise people imagine as being technologically accurate cannot be the future. Very highly technological advancements embedded in how it functions. And so that book for me was really beautiful.
Was that? And you got a lot out of it. You got a lot of it. My goodness, that's really so. Binti, it's a trilogy.
Yes.
So, okay, wow. And who's the author?
Nedi Okorafor.
Nedi Okorafor, and so it's a Nigerian author, you said, or is
yes,
it?
I think she's a US author.
Okay, right. Beautiful recommendation. We'll be sure to include it in our show notes. And once my daughter's old enough, I might present Binti to her.
I mean, it is actually it's not a very difficult read. Maybe read it in 1 or 2 days. And, it's very simple language, very simply written. But it just unlocks a new imagination. I really appreciate it.
Nice, beautiful recommendation. And then my very last question. Let's turn the tables. This is now the Pelonomi Moiloa podcast. Who would you want to have as your guest?
I think it would be more of a type of person than a person in particular.
What type?
A type of person who likes to explore ideas, to explore possibilities and opportunities in ways that are not realized, challenges is able to build on an imagination in a place that is nicer, and a future that is nicer for them. So the reason why I don't have a particular person is because
there might be many people. No, but it's a good answer. The previous guest said, I would like to talk to a 15-year-old girl from Senegal. I was like, why Senegal? She said, I don't know. It's like, because she said, I want to go to an African country that economically, relatively has done well.
Yes.
And then talk about her future, kind of the challenges there. So just to get an input and an idea. So.
I mean, I love to just always have a connection with the person that is beautiful. And I don't think one person is different from the next in terms of the richness that conversation provides.
No, definitely not. Pelonomi, it's been a great pleasure speaking to you. I wish you all the best in the future of Lelapa AI and your journey as well. I'm sure we're going to hear a lot more about you. Pelonomi Moiloa, thank you very much. If you liked this episode, then it would mean the absolute world if you could share it with your friends and or give it a short review on your preferred podcast platform. The more you share your ideas about these interviews, the more people will find out about them. So do let us know what you think. We'd be very, very grateful.
Special thanks to Philip Anderson for our beautiful theme music. This episode was edited by Natalie Piles with production assistance from Genta Metalia.